Lead generation forms have been a great addition to the digital marketing realm, and they've been rolling out over the past about decade or so. And pretty much every major platform has some form of lead generation ad. Now, the platforms themselves really love them, so they push them really hard. And a common question we get from clients is, should I use a lead generation form within the platform, or should I drive my customers to my landing pages? Unfortunately, there's no clear-cut answer for that. Each strategy has its pros and cons. So today, I want to walk you through the benefits and drawbacks of using lead gen forms or landing pages to help you make the right call for your account. Whenever we're trying to decide between a lead generation form and a landing page, there are 5 key considerations that I always look at and discuss with our clients before deciding to go one way or another. Those 5 are pretty simple, and we're going to go through each of them. We're going to talk about user experience, supporting content, form customization, data collection, and conversion optimization, and talk about the pros and cons for landing pages versus lead generation forms. So let's start with the first one, user experience. Thinking about your ad campaign from the user experience, what does it feel like and look like for them to engage with your ad if you use a landing page versus a lead generation form? The biggest considerations here, in my opinion, are around the speed and then the platform choices. So for a landing page, pretty much regardless of whether somebody is on really strong Wi-Fi or if they're out on a 5, 4, or 3G network somewhere, or if they're on edge, landing pages always take a bit longer to load because we usually put a lot of information on those pages. And they have to leave the platform that they're on, whether it's a Facebook ad, LinkedIn ad, TikTok, anything. Wherever we're sending somebody to an additional landing page, that user has to leave the platform that they were on to get more information and hopefully eventually convert. Lead generation forms, on the other hand, are housed entirely on the platform itself, which means that the user doesn't have to leave. Once they're done with the form, they'll remain on Facebook or LinkedIn, and they're usually a lot quicker to load because there's not nearly as much code that goes into it, so there's not as much to actually load on the page. So in this respect, I think lead generation forms are a bit easier. So if you've got really, really big landing pages, might make sense to stick with a lead generation form. And although I don't think the desired platform by itself should make the decision whether or not you use landing pages or lead gen forms, this is something that always comes up as kind of a last thing to think about in addition to all the other things we're going to talk about. If everything else is really leaning hard into choosing landing pages, then it's probably okay for somebody to leave their desired platform. But if you're really up against it with some of these other considerations and lead generation forms keep somebody on the same platform, that's probably a good one to go with. But one other thing about landing pages is that you actually can increase your page speed to be much faster just with the help of a couple simple tools. If you utilize Google's Page Speed Insights, it will give you suggestions of how to speed up your page by looking at different components of it. So in a similar vein, with the consideration of keeping someone on the same platform, if all of the remaining 4 considerations that we'll talk about in a minute point you toward using a landing page, but page speed is slowing you down, there is something you can do for that. All you would need to do is Google Page Speed Insights, and the tool will pop right up at the top. The next consideration is around supporting content. What type of information can you convey to the customer in each type of conversion flow? Specifically on the social platforms, there's not a lot of supporting text that you can use in the ad copy itself. You've got a little bit above the image, sometimes a little below, but if you're using videos in an Instagram reel or even an Instagram feed, a lot of times those don't have any additional supporting text unless you include it. So we need to make sure that we're sharing enough information for somebody to feel confident enough to convert. And lead generation forms and landing pages have different ways of helping you do that. On landing pages, you can obviously customize these to your heart's content. You can build whatever type of template you want. You can put any information in there around the benefits to your solution, the product specifications, expected timeline, customer reviews, testimonials, all of this stuff can be customized on landing pages. Now, some of you might be thinking, that all sounds great, but my landing pages don't really do that. Well, just like the Page Speed Insights tool, there are options available for you to roll out lots of landing pages with lots of customization pretty easily. One of those tools that we like quite a bit is Unbounce. We use this for our clients full transparency, and if you are interested in 20% off your first 3 months or 35% off your first year of using Unbounce, you can check out our affiliate link in the video description. It'll take you to a page that looks just like this, and you can start saving money after testing it out for 14 days for free. So even if your existing landing pages don't work out well for this, that doesn't mean that you can't have a way to get around it. Lead generation forms do have some options for you to customize the supporting information, but they fall quite a bit short of what you can do on landing pages. The set of form fields on the left is what you'll see for a Facebook lead generation form. You can decide what image you want to use, you can add a headline, you can have a paragraph or a list description introduction section. This is just the intro section. So there are some customizations you can make, but not a ton. The same is true for the fields on the right. That's going to be for a lead generation form on LinkedIn. Again, you can add in a headline, some details, but you're limited even within that to about 220 characters between the two. And there's no option for any additional imagery or any other supporting information. So in this category, I think landing pages definitely are more beneficial than lead generation forms. So if you have a lot of information that the user needs to know before they're willing to convert on that conversion action, it might make more sense for you to send somebody to a landing page so they can get all of that information before submitting the lead, rather than utilizing a lead generation form. Now the next thing is around customizing the form itself. What options do you have to customize the form fields so you can ask the questions that help you generate something that is a meaningful lead to your business? On landing pages, you can customize this to your heart's content, whether or not you're using your own website builder or using something like Unbounce we referenced before. These forms can be really long. They can be kind of in the middle, where you only ask for a couple of questions, or they can be exceedingly short. And yes, this is a terrible form that people should not ask, but it was an example I already had, and I still think it's kind of funny. So landing pages allow for a ton of customization when it comes to the form, and you might think that lead generation forms fall a bit short, but they actually don't. In the image on the left, you can see in a Facebook ad, you can customize questions whether you want it to be multiple choice, short answer, conditional, or an appointment request. And then on TikTok, you've got the same type of options. You can do short answer, multiple choice, appointment scheduling, and both LinkedIn and Snapchat have similar custom questions that you can use like this. And all of these are in addition to the normal form fields like what's your name, what's your email, what's your phone number, all that good stuff. The additional thing I'll point out is that both Facebook and TikTok, as you can see in this image, have some form of a logic setting, meaning that depending on the way somebody answers these custom questions, your follow-up questions in the form can be different. So while landing pages are really customizable, I don't think lead gen forms are lacking. If anything, you might have more control in lead generation forms than you do in landing pages. Personally, I'm going to call this one a tie, since the sky's kind of the limit on what you can do on your own landing pages, but I don't think lead gen forms leave anything to be desired when it comes to customization of form fields, and they shouldn't hold you back in any way, shape, or form. No pun intended on the form at the end there. The fourth consideration is going to be around data collection and how the information that you gather from the lead makes its way into your CRM, and then how it can be used later on. I don't have any images for the landing pages because if you built a form on your landing page, it's going to follow everything that every other form on your website does. Odds are you have a contact us form on your website that integrates directly with your CRM, depending on if you made your website in WordPress or any other platform. Your landing pages should do exactly the same. They should integrate immediately. You could even use something like Unbounce or even HubSpot to build landing pages that should integrate directly with whatever CRM you're using, especially if you're using HubSpot landing pages with HubSpot as your CRM. So overall, data collection for landing pages should be extremely simple, but for lead generation forms, it's really not too bad either. For an automatic connection to get the information from a submitted lead generation form into your CRM, there are lots of different integrations that you can use. HubSpot and LeadsBridge each have native integrations with a handful of these platforms. I think HubSpot has the most, but I could be misspeaking there. But there are other third-party tools like Zapier that can connect all the different platforms together to make sure that when somebody submits a lead within your Facebook ads account or LinkedIn ads account, that information makes its way into your CRM immediately. And while it might seem silly to need a connector between the two platforms, I will tell you that it is very tedious to go in and download your leads manually, but you can do it. In Facebook, you have to go to the individual ad creative and click each one of these On Facebook Leads buttons underneath the results column. There's no singular place that you can download all of these into one sheet. The same is true on LinkedIn. You would need to navigate to your lead generation forms manager underneath assets, and then for each ad, you'd have to click on the 3 dots and download leads. In my opinion, that is quite a pain, and I highly suggest you don't do that. So if you cannot have your lead generation forms automatically integrated with your CRM, landing pages are going to be the best way for you to go. That way you save the time on the manual work of downloading the lead itself, but additionally, the user doesn't have to wait for that time lag between submitting the form and having the follow-up from your sales team. That time will be cut down much shorter if you have an automatic integration. As long as you have everything integrated, there's no real benefit one way or the other to using a landing page versus a lead generation form, because in the same way that you can map any information gathered in any form field on a form on your website into your CRM, you can do all of that same information mapping in a lead generation form to your CRM. So again, as long as you can use the automated integration, there's no benefit or drawback between lead generation forms versus landing pages, in my opinion. Now, the other piece around data collection is going to be how you generate audiences from users who have engaged with your lead generation forms. I'm going to start on the right because lead generation forms are housed entirely on the social platforms. That means that audiences can be created through the tracked engagement on each platform. In the audience manager for each of them, when you go in to create a new audience, there are options for you to make them based on how somebody engaged with a lead gen form. That means that as soon as somebody submits that form, they'll immediately be added into audiences for either targeting or exclusion, which is a big benefit, but the drawback is that they're not shareable across ad platforms directly. You would need to find a user list in your CRM of everybody who submitted that lead gen form, and then upload a customer list into all other ad platforms to keep that up to date. So this is really useful for immediate audience creation in a specific platform, but it's not shareable across the other platforms. Landing pages, on the other hand, can be shared across all platforms because when somebody comes to the landing page, every pixel you have on that page will fire for every ad platform. So if they come from Facebook, they convert, they hit that thank you page, Facebook will track the conversion, but Google, LinkedIn, Microsoft, every other platform will know that that person has hit the thank you page and include them in the audience of converters, even if they didn't come from that ad channel. So that's very useful, except for the fact that pixels are not 100% foolproof. In a number of countries, you have to opt in to all of the different cookies, and a lot of people just really don't like being tracked, so they opt out of all pixels and they remove their cookies after a certain amount of time on a pretty regular basis. So it's not quite perfect. It's not going to be exactly immediate, but it is shared across all platforms. So depending on how you want to use the audience of people who engage with these forms and with the campaigns you're using here, you might want to use landing pages if you want to leverage that across all platforms without the additional audience import step. But if you're only using it in one platform, it's probably okay to leave everything in lead gen forms and then use those engagement audiences for your next stage campaign. The last consideration is going to piggyback a bit off of data collection, because with the data it can collect, what can the channels optimize on for you, and how quickly can they start to focus on the conversions that you want? For landing pages, again, they require those pixels, and there may be a little bit of a time lag or missing information altogether when it comes to tracking your conversions. You're probably familiar with or have at least heard of CAPI, Conversions API for Facebook. That is trying to help solve this problem of the missing conversion data because of pixels being lost. Now, what that means for your conversion optimization is if you're using any sort of automated bidding or machine learning to help you generate more conversions, you're going to be giving the platform an incomplete picture because it's not tracking 100% of the conversions. There will be some users who converted, but the platform doesn't know it and therefore sees that as a failure rather than a success. So depending on the amount of volume you have coming through, you might be okay and still see good results. But if you're missing the majority of your conversion data from pixels that are on landing pages, it might make sense for you to move to lead gen forms, which, just like the audience piece, are all housed on the platform, give immediate feedback, and the platform will never not track when somebody fills out a lead generation form. So for conversion optimization and tracking purposes, lead generation forms absolutely win, because in that singular platform, they will always be tracked the way that they need to be. But landing pages and those pixels might still be the way to go if you have lots of conversion data, even coming from other sources, that will help feed your automated bidding algorithms. So overall, I've given you the 5 key considerations that we usually talk about with clients when we're deciding whether or not to use lead generation forms versus landing pages as our conversion destination for campaigns. But you'll notice that I didn't tell you which one was best, because depending on your business, your goals, your tech setup, the answer is going to be different for everybody. And in a lot of instances, the majority of our clients, to be honest, we end up testing both. Sometimes lead gen forms perform better than landing pages. Sometimes it's the other way around. And there's no real rhyme or reason that we can tell as to why one does better than the other. But it's always good to make sure that you have both in your back pocket, just to give you the most flexibility moving forward. Now, as I mentioned, I know I didn't answer the question around which is best, but hopefully these 5 considerations will help you start to think about which one will be right for you, for your individual campaign, and help you reach your goals. If you have any additional questions about lead gen forms, landing pages, or just lead generation campaigns in general, we'd love to hear about them in the comments below. Thanks for watching our video. We really appreciate it. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up below. If you really liked it, maybe think about subscribing to the Paid Media Pros YouTube channel and you'll get alerted every time a new video drops.
If you really liked it, you can help support the channel by checking out some of the t-shirts that we're wearing on our merch shelf, as well as looking at the Super Thanks button.